Well, Rosa and Priddis obviously trained a bit on Monday. They're both going really well. So did Glass. So we're hopeful. They haven't been flat out yet, so they've still got to get through a test as such, but they're looking pretty good. Yeah, well, Rosa's more a corky coming off, whereas Priddis more restrained, so that's really got to see how he copes with training. We're pretty confident Rosa will cope with the whole load, but
which leg is it, Priddis?
I'm not sure.
It's obviously quads are pretty big. If you do actually do one, ping one, there's a fair amount of time that come in. You think that another week could actually help him out a bit rather than risking him pulling it.
Yeah, every injury is a little bit different, so he'll get assessed on what he's done so far, what he did over the weekend, and what he can do today.
What about Kurt? He's been banged up the first couple of weeks of the year. You mentioned after round one, you monitor what's going on with him on the ground. Are you happy with what's happening with him off the ball and around the footy?
Yeah, I think the knock he got on the weekend was more an accidental knock, just part of the game. Don't think he was targeted too much off the ball.
How's his body?
He hasn't played a game yet where he hasn't been pretty sore, but you have those runs as a player. But overall, no, he's getting over them, and he should be right this week.
Will you consider resting him at some point next few weeks?
No.
So it won't be like last year where we sort of gave him a week off every now and then. He'll just.
I don't think we did it last year. I can't remember giving him a week off. But if he's fit and in form, he'll play. If he's unfit or out of form, then he may not play.
Hawthorn were premiership favourites. I think they still are. How do you see them this year?
Very good team. Yeah, we obviously did last year. They were a very good team, and they're on the up. So should be one of the highly rated teams in the comp.
Big job for McKenzie this week up against Franklin, perhaps.
Yeah, absolutely. But being a key back, you get pretty big jobs every week playing. There's a lot of good forwards in the game. So the guys who get to play with the roughheads up there, Hale's in good form, and Franklin's obviously one of the stars of the game.
Would that be the most daunting matchup for an individual, do you think, Buddy Franklin?
It'd be up there, but there's other. Playing on Gary Ablett's pretty daunting, and playing on Chris Judd's pretty daunting. So there's other players, and even for a forward playing on some of the great defenders in the game is pretty tough as well. So there's always challenges there, which is what players should be looking for.
When he pushes up the ground, have you got a logical matchup for him if he's in the centre square on the wing?
Well, we've got a couple of pretty good wingers, so whether we follow him there or wait for him in the forward half or let him play on the wing for a while, that we'll weigh all those options up. But we've got our tall players have got good engines, so they've got the ability to run with him around the ground if we want them to.
John, Hawthorn holds on to the ball so well in back 50. Have you put the challenge to the forward line this week that they need to work hard to be able to force them to turn the ball over?
Our philosophy is they shouldn't be able to try any harder this week than they did last week. I'd be disappointed if our team thought they could play better against certain teams, or they had to play better against certain teams. So we'll aim to play our style of football at the best we can possibly perform, which is our aim every week.
Is it something different for your forwards to counter that, the amount that they hang on to the footy?
Well, they're probably, they're a very skillful kicking team. So the challenge is we're playing against a team that does play a little bit differently than other teams, but doesn't really raise a bigger challenge for us to get the best out of ourselves. We ask for that challenge every week anyway.
Scott Sewell this year, John's been great offensively this week. Do you think he'll be the same, or head-to-head with someone like Mitchell, maybe?
Possibly, yeah. They're weighed up each week according to the opposition and specific roles for players. So a lot depends on who's going through the middle for us and also for the Hawks on what his role will be.
Detailing Mitchell's influence, though, especially when the clearances are very important.
Yeah, Mitchell's a very good top-line player for sure.
You go having belted two teams today, having had two two pretty competitive games in the first three against really top teams. Is it the sort of preparation is it an ideal preparation to come up against a quality team when you had two teams in recent weeks who haven't really been able to compete with you?
Yeah, it's a question that's worth asking, but you don't have any control over that. So if you spend your year worrying about how you're going into games according to what's happened in the last 2 weeks, I would be grey by now if I was worrying about all those things. We're well prepared. We'll be ready to go this week.
So you don't think that the players are able to adjust regardless of what's happening?
I hope they're able to step up to the challenge of Hawthorn and look forward to it.
Do you think they've been looking forward to the opportunity to play against a quality team, having had the games they've had?
Since Monday they have been, for sure.
John, just on that, people will say you've had a fairly soft start to the season. Do you see this as a game where you can really stand yourself as premiership contenders?
1 week doesn't ever really do that because we've seen with some of the commentary over the last 3 weeks, some teams get written off very early in seasons and are out of the premiership race already when we all know that that's probably not the case. So, we're not going to measure ourselves on 1 week. We have to be a serious contender in this competition. You've got to do it over 22 weeks. History shows that the best performed teams over 22 weeks end up winning the premiership. They finish on top of the ladder or second, and they have good final series. So that's our aim. But Hawthorn is a great challenge for us to look forward to see where we're at and how we're going.
Do you feel like you're getting overlooked a little? People are talking up Carlton and...
Our time will come if we're good enough and deserve to be talked up, then it will happen.
Just an update on Lega John. Is he back at the club?
Yeah, he's been back and around for the last few weeks, so going really well.
Walking?
Yeah, oh yeah. No, you wouldn't know he's had an operation. He's going really well.
How's Dalziell's knee?
Dalziell's knee is a PCL tear, and at the more severe end, which is disappointing for him. So it's between a 8 to 10 week recovery period.
You've got some long-term injuries, in terms of hitting your depth and stuff. Is it starting to get frustrating that you're not getting the 1 to 2 weekers, you're getting 8 to season?
Oh, it's disappointing for those players, but the way that the guys have stepped up and filling those voids has been outstanding.
You feel that you can only carry a certain number of guys before it starts to affect your squad when you've lost so many guys, big chunks?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think so. Not if you've. That's why you have a squad of 46 to build and have depth on there, and we've got 4 long-term injuries now. But I still strongly believe we can cope with covering those losses.
You rested Glass last week, and you spoke about maybe doing throughout the year as well. And the fact you've got impact injuries, players starting to feel the effects of games even more. Do you feel with the way it's starting to hit players?
I'm not sure. There's some injuries are unavoidable. They're collision injuries. But there is also an aspect of fatigue that can be built into collision injuries. So it's hard to say either way, but it's not a massive concern for us at the moment. In that the rest of the squad's pretty healthy, so we've just got to keep an eye on that.
Winning here again, playing Hawthorn here, obviously, the record here in recent times has been outstanding. How important is it to you to maintain that against teams that you may come up against in finals here?
Well, yeah, I suppose I look at it like we've got to be able to play well anywhere. Other teams may have a different view. That's not really my issue. Our aim is to play well whether we're playing at Blacktown or playing at a Melbourne-based ground or playing at Subiaco Oval, so Patterson Stadium. We're very strongly focused on becoming as consistent a team in terms of our performance, regardless of where we play, as we can be.
The fact that there seems to be more teams in premiership mode at the moment, but less absolutely outstanding teams, does that make it easier or harder to lock away a top 4 spot?
That's a pretty deep question. Yeah, you got me on that one. I'll go on your view.
In previous years, we've seen Collingwood as an example. They were clearly above the rest of the package along as well. The fact that there's maybe 5 or 6 teams in premiership mode.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Again, at the end of 22 rounds, you will get a better picture of where teams are at. Last year, you would say West Coast versus Carlton here in the finals was a pretty good game between two teams who could be seen to have been up with those other teams. So that took the number to 5 last year. So 5 or 6 or 7 this year, it's sort of around the mark.
And you touched on that earlier. How does that compare to previous years?
Well, yeah, I got asked this a couple of weeks ago, and my view is that our squad is stronger than it's been in the last few years. It's age and experience-wise growing, and but with some good young talent still to be seen.
John, is Lecker any chance at all this year?
That's not really my call. That's a medical call. So ongoing discussions between Lecker and his surgeon will determine that.
Haven't ruled him out as such.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the surgeon has told him at this stage in terms of his recovery. I know it's something like 16 weeks before he's back running flat out. So that's what we're aiming for at the moment.
Apart from the rehab, what's he been up to?
I don't know. He's been probably going home, watch a movie. I don't know, take his wife out for dinner. What else do blokes do?
Snaham said the other day that he's been helping him out, just a bit of his forward work, but
Yep.
that's more as a mate rather than him helping.
Yeah, sure. I can see where you're coming from now.
Yeah. So has he been, are you going to assign him any roles?
Yeah, well, he does. He sits in with some of our leadership meetings that we have, so he does that. He also has regular talks with Justin Longmuir on how he can help. Either help Justin with his stuff or specifically help players. So he is doing that as well. Yeah.
When guys are out for long periods of time like that, it's important to find ways to keep them, around the club, working with the other guys.
Yeah, it is, but everyone's a bit different. Some players will use the opportunity to put more time into their study or some of the courses they do outside of football. See it as an opportunity to get ahead there as well. So yeah, it's an individual thing. It depends where the player's at with their careers and what their personality is. So all that's taken into account.